Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I got this 15 by 60 lean-to project. I'm also going to give a breakdown on how much expense I had on this job versus how much money AROSS Welding made on this project. And I'm also going to go over a lot of little details about certain things that I'm learning in life and whatnot. But if you want to skip ahead to that breakdown, go to around the 15-minute mark. And that's when I start sharing the breakdown. All the stuff up until then is going to be talking about all the logistics about what I had to do to get, how I got this job, like I said, but also, what kind of connections I had to get equipment and whatnot to even make this job possible, if you will. So if you're not aware of the video that I'm talking about, make sure and check in the description or up in one of these corners to see the first two videos of this project, or the only two videos of this project. Us popping holes, setting post, framing it up in the first video, and then skinning the lean-to in the second video. I also wanted to remind you of the branch workshop, the 12-on-12 branch in-person workshop coming up March 8th and 9th of this new year. The 12-on-12 branch is the most common pipeline weld test. We had our first workshop a couple of months ago. We had a good time. We learned lots. I'm looking forward to the next one. So I just wanted to remind you so you could have it on your radar this year, be saving up for it or be planning it in your calendar this year. And also for those of you who didn't know about the other courses over there at our website, by the way, you can read more about the branch workshop at AROSSWELDING.school, and you'll also find a couple of other online courses over there, one of them being the pipe fence course, learn how to build pipe fence. You can also learn how to build your very first welding rig, universal welding rig, so you can just get started in your mobile welding journey to do the kinds of things that you see us here do on the AROSS Welding channel. And we also have a branding course where Kayla will teach you how to brand or build a solid brand foundation for your small business, not just welding business. Happy New Year, enjoy the video. And if you've been following along for a few years now, you know that we built a 50-foot by 100-foot building, and I was not set up for that. I don't know that I ever talked about that. I'm not sure, I might have. There were several different videos. Again, we will put that playlist in the description. If you haven't seen those videos, there were several videos where I took on that project. It was a good opportunity for me because the guy that I got the job through on that project had equipment like man lifts and SkyTrack and stuff. I didn't have to take care of all that. As toward this smaller project, I did have to come up with equipment, so it was stressful. Now, after that 50 by 100, I learned a valuable lesson, and that was that I was not set up to do this. It took me, I technically, me personally, I technically made a little money, but if you actually break it down into profit and all that stuff, I probably didn't make that much money. It was very much not a good financial decision, but I will say I'm thankful for the experience because I learned, and learning is invaluable. That's why I put this beanie on, is because I'm excited I'm just excited about learning. That's what I'm all about here on this channel, is learning. That's what we are all about. Anybody who comes and watches this channel, that's what we're about, is learning. So all that to say is the 50 by 100 was a valuable learning experience for me. It told me that I didn't need to be doing metal buildings right now, or at that time in my business, actually at that time and right now. And so from then on, I didn't do any metal buildings. If you notice on the channel between that time and this lean-to, I haven't done any metal building projects, because I had a couple of inquiries because of the YouTube channel. People see the channel, they hit me up through email and ask if I'm interested in building them a building and whatnot, and I turned them down. And but I've been turning them down intentionally. The reason I took on this lean-to is because my service-based work has been slower this year. So I took it on. A buddy of mine, like I said in the first video of this project, Aaron Bullard with Bullard Construction. I've known Aaron for a long time. I went to school with his cousin. Anyway, Aaron is a hustler. He's drumming up a lot of work. He's got equipment. I don't even own a skid steer. Anything you see me use, it's either borrowed or rented, or somebody else, I have somebody come do it, which brings me to this project and how I got this project. So what I was saying was, Aaron, he was too busy. I didn't have a whole lot going on, and we had been talking over the last few months, and so I was talking to him, and I said, well, I need something to do. So I said, I'd be glad to do it. It's smaller, it's 15 by 60, so it was smaller. And so I took it on. So because I needed money and I needed this to happen, and the price was already figured out. So Aaron, this is on this project, this was his customer. He had already built a lot of fence for this customer, and this customer wanted this lean-to built, and Aaron was just literally too covered up, couldn't get to it, but he didn't want to lose the customer, so he passed the job off to me, told me to keep all the profit, whatever, but he had already priced the job. He had priced it at $86.50, so $8,650, and that included materials and labor, and the materials ended up costing $36.50, I believe, is what it ended up overall. Everything we spent on it to get the material. And so whatever that is, I'm gonna grab a calculator. So that left me with $86.50 minus $36.50, left me with $5,000 to work with. And so I had told myself I was going to get a skid steer to pop the holes, because originally the plan, Aaron had talked with his suppliers, trying to get suppliers for this project. And that's a whole logistical thing in itself when it comes to metal buildings, is the design, you know. As you will see if you haven't seen the video. If you haven't seen it, we started out, we were gonna have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. We were gonna have 9 posts, and we ended up only having 4 that we had to put in the ground because of the difference in design. So, but whenever I come into it, I thought I was gonna have to pop 9 holes, set 9 posts. And so I was like, I know just from my fence building experience, I know that I can pop 9 holes in a day and set 9 posts in a day. That's super easy. Again, just based off my experience and you know, the equipment that I've used and the equipment that I know I'm gonna need for that many posts and whatnot. And so I was like, I'll just rent a skid steer, you know, $300, maybe 500 tops for a day. And so 5,000 minus 500, 4,500. And then I wasn't sure how long it would take me, but I was thinking between 3 and 4 days. And I wasn't sure how much help I was gonna have, but I knew I was gonna need at least one guy. And so if I pay a guy $20 or $30 an hour at, let's just do 30 times, call it 10, 300 times 4, so 1,200 times 2, 2,400 if it took us 4 days. So these are all just kind of guesstimates. Could take less time. You know, we're not sure if we haven't done a bunch of these, right? And you don't have the same help every time, and you don't have rhythms and systems put in place. I say that because this is the situation I was in. I have an idea, but I don't have all those kind of, I haven't done enough of these back to back to kind of have a confident idea on how long something like this would take. So $2,400 plus 500 for our skid steer, 2,900. So we're almost to 3,000. 5,000 minus 3,000 is $2,000. So 2,000, let's just go 2,000 divided by 4, $500 a day for AROSS welding, if AROSS welding does it in 4 days. Now if I do 2,000 divided by 3 days, if I can knock it down to 3 days, that puts me at $666.60 per day. So how it ended up working, oh no, let's back up. Before we get to how it ended up working financially, let's back up to what I had to do to get equipment, because I thought I was gonna rent something, but last minute I called a buddy of mine. I actually tried my uncle first, but he didn't have a skid steer available, and so I called another buddy of mine, Michael Sayre, the guy that got me my first pipeline job, and I said, hey, is there any way I can use your skid steer and your auger for a day, is what I hit him up at first about, and literally asking a favor. I knew there wasn't much money in the, you know, the rough numbers we just crunched to like really pay for something, you know. There could have been, but it would have been more out of my pocket, right? That's the deal with working with a hard price with a bid, is you're forced to do things more scrappy, or you're forced to do things with less. I'll put it that way. So I just told myself, if he'll let me do this, I'm gonna go. I'd been talking to Michael a little bit before that, and he told me he was building a set of corrals. So I was just put in my head that like, I'm gonna have to go weld for him for a couple days to pay this favor off, you know? So that's what I told him. And it worked out that the guy that helps him, Casey, the guy that helped us, one of the guys that helped us, Hunter and Casey, both helped me build this lean-to. And Casey had been helping Michael the last couple of years, doing hay in the field, helping Michael just wherever Michael needs help around the farm or whatnot. So Casey and Michael had a good relationship, and Casey lives over by Michael. And as I was talking to Michael, I told him, I said, Casey's gonna come help me. And he said, oh, well, just have Casey come grab it. Because I was trying to work out the logistics of having to come get the skid steer and have Hunter bring the welding skid, which is another piece of equipment that I borrowed because I wanted to have 2 welding machines on this project. And so borrowed a skid steer and an auger from my buddy, traded some welding, and then borrowed a skid from my brother-in-law, Colt. But with all that, I had to work out the logistics, right? Like there was a lot of, like I wrote it down somewhere, and I'm actually proud of myself, but I'm not gonna lie, it was super stressful in my little bitty brain that I'm not used to doing, you know, working with so many moving parts. Whenever you do that and it does work out, that's a real good feeling. But, and I'm gonna talk about how this project went, like I said, after I talk about this, because with metal buildings, there's a whole lot forethought that goes into it. And if you're not thinking about it, you run into stuff constantly, and it's super stressful because every time you run into something, it takes you more time. And if it takes you more than a day, you know, that hard number is going down every time you hit a wall, that number goes down. So as I'm sitting here talking about it, it can be kind of fun, but if I'm being super honest, it is stressful in the moment, especially whenever you're low on money, which, like I said, things were kind of tight whenever I got this job. That's why I took it, knowing that I didn't really need to be taking it. I just wanted to mention right here real quick how much I noticed, because of the situation I'm in, how much I noticed the importance of focus. In other words, all this stressful feelings that I'm having, that I'm sharing in this video about, you know, dealing with all these logistics and how stressful it is, it's possible that it wouldn't be that stressful if metal buildings was all I was focusing on. If that's what I did 5 days a week, and I could refine some of my systems and have, you know, my own equipment and all this, but that takes focus is all I'm getting at. So I just wanted to mention that for those of you that may be feeling the stressful vibe that's coming off of me in this video. Not trying to minimize the stress, because it is stressful, but I just wanted to mention that, like, because of my situation, I've got all this internet stuff going on right now, and so I don't even focus on my service-based stuff as much as I could, not to mention just metal building. So just wanted to mention that little caveat. Oh yeah, logistics. When it comes to logistics, I had racked my brains about, I have my 95, and Aaron had offered me his trailer. He had a 30-foot gooseneck trailer. Me and Colt, brother-in-law, only has I've got a bumper pool, 20-foot bumper pool, and me and him share a 20-foot with a 5-foot dovetail, so 25-foot flatbed gooseneck trailer. But I wanted that 30-foot because I wanted to put that skid on the front, and then I wanted Hunter to be able to go pick up the material behind the welding skid. So I wanted to borrow that trailer, so I had Hunter come to the house, get the 95, go over here, get Aaron's trailer, come over here, get Colt's welding skid. Had to let Colt know ahead of time so he could fire up the tractor and whatnot, make sure, just give Colt a heads up to load the skid that morning. And then Hunter was gonna go to about 45 minutes, an hour away to get material. So that's what Hunter did that morning, while me and Casey, I had Casey meet me at the job. So I hooked onto my trailer and got concrete from the house that I had from previous jobs. So luckily that logistic was already taken care of. But I still had to, like, prepare for it the night before and whatnot, get the concrete loaded, get hooked up to the trailer. And so I met I met Casey at the job, and he met me there with Michael's skid steer. So it all sounds easy, in hindsight, but just thinking about all that, if you're not used to it, that's why I respect guys that do logistics, because it's literally like, if one thing changes, you gotta shuffle things around. And as much as I love it, it stresses me out. I'll just say that. Like, I like it, but it very much stresses me out. I would like to think, because of my optimism, I would like to think that the more I do it, I would get less stressed, maybe. I don't know. It's not my strong point. I want it to be my strong point, but it's not my strong point, and it stresses me out, so it probably tells me I probably shouldn't do it for self-care reasons. But I think it would be unfair to not give myself a chance to do it more often, to try to see how I handle it long term and how much better I get at it. Because it's that balance. We want to challenge ourselves, but we don't want to live in stress and not take care of ourselves and lose sleep and all that stuff, because I mean, there's a lot I'm learning about self-care here lately, so, and it's very valuable. So to take intentional time off and therefore not be thinking about stuff. Whenever I'm doing logistics for a job, I'm thinking about it when I'm laying down at bed. So until I learn, because that's another thing you can learn, that I'm talking fast, just talking about all this. I'm learning that we have the option to turn our minds off at a certain point, but it's up to us to learn that and implement that, have that self-discipline and implement that, you know, emotional brain shut off. It's a choice, and it's kind of it's an emotional thing, but it's choosing to control your emotions, and knowing how to control your emotions is a lot easier said than done, especially for a lot of us like myself that weren't taught how to do so. So anyway, logistics, I was just saying it's easier, you know, it sounds easy now, and it all worked out good until our first hiccup, which was, I guess the first one was whenever Hunter showed up with the material. Luckily we didn't have all of our holes drilled yet. Luckily he showed up in time before we drilled any holes. We found out that we didn't have enough post, there wasn't enough material for said post. So I made a couple phone calls with the supplier, found out that, oh, okay, yeah, you were just planning on this much because you had 6-inch channel. He sent us 6-inch channel, which could span 20 foot versus only spanning 10 foot. So that minimized the amount of post, which is a good thing to know for those of you that didn't know that. However, I may recommend going with like an 8-inch on a 20-foot span, depending on the type of material you use, because it's all in the design. It's a whole, like I said, whole logistical thing in itself. And then the other wall we hit was the tin that they ordered for the side walls was too short. So we had to order more tin. We had to wait a week before we could get the tin ordered in this blue and whatnot. And so to pop the holes and get all the tin taken off the building, which you'll see if you watch those videos, it took us a day to do that. And then it took us another day to frame the whole thing up. Me and 2 guys and 2 welding machines, all welded out, ready for tin. And then the third day, we got all the roof tin on, but then we hit a wall, luckily, and that only took us half a day. And then it took me and Hunter another half a day to come back and put the tin on and finish screwing everything off, because that's another thing, is we were short on screws. So it essentially took us exactly 3 days, but one extra trip, actually, yeah, a whole nother trip to go get tin an hour away. So every time we take another trip, that costs us fuel. Extra trip to the job, that cost, you know, fuel money, maintenance money for your equipment, you know. So that's the extra expense that really needs to be plugged in whenever, you know, you're doing your breakdown of cost of what jobs cost you and stuff. All right, so when it comes to the money, I did better than what I thought. For some reason, I felt like I didn't do this good because I was super stressed out and I've just been low on money. So whenever you're low on money, it just feels like you're doing worse. But if everything's correct, my labor was only $1,200 for 3 days. And my materials like lag bolts, materials and lunch and fuel, I put $100 in fuel. We had 2 days of lunch at $30 for all of us, which, you know, I didn't have to do that, but it makes for good morale. But really, I got to get more structured. Bring your lunch. You know what I'm saying? Fend for yourself. If I did stuff more often, I would create more structure and whatnot. Like I could get it way more structured. This is just one project, one little one-off guy here. So anyway, little bitty old business. So materials, fuel, and lunch, $270. That added up to $1,470. And then Aaron's cut out of the $86.50 was $4,200. Because I paid him $350 for the lead for the job, because I wanted to show my appreciation for the project. And then the trailer that I borrowed got a flat on it, so we had to change a flat during this project as well. And so I got the tire fixed for him. I ended up just paying him, reimbursing him, but I paid him $200 to get a new tire for his trailer and get it fixed. So it added up to $4,200. So $86.50 minus $4,200 is $44.50. Minus the $1,400 for the materials, lag bolts and stuff, fuel, and labor. I forgot to mention labor. It wasn't just materials and fuel that cost $1,400. It was materials, fuel, and labor, $1,400 plus dollars. It's $2,980. You divide that by 3 days that it took me, $993 per day. I mean, that goes in the AROSSWELDING account. So past that, when it comes to delegating money to business, like where to do, you know, what to actually delegate your money for, you know, like income, like you get a check, you know, wrote to your business for X amount of dollars. There are ways that I'm learning, which I actually want to share a book with you called Profits First. I'm reading it right now, and it's something that I want to learn and implement in probably all aspects of my life, not just the service space. But learning to delegate your money whenever it first comes in. The guy that wrote this book, real knowledgeable, and I highly recommend that book if you're wanting to structure your business. You know, because just because you make $993 a day on a project doesn't mean you're delegating it right. I'm speaking from experience. So managing your money properly for your business is what I recommend. It's what I'm working on. So I want to recommend that book. It's called Profit First. So I highly recommend that book. Oh yeah, one variable that I thought of while I was editing this that could have made an impact on the daily income for AROSS Welding was the fact that I ended up using my buddy Michael's skid steer for 3 days, not just one, because we used it to move material around and the welding skid around. So I could have very well easily spent an extra $1,000 on equipment rental if I wouldn't have done some of this scrappy maneuvering and borrowing to make this job happen. So that's very important. I'm glad I thought of it while I was editing this video. So just something to keep in mind. I hope this was helpful to those of you that are getting started, that are motivated about your mobile welding business. I know I learned a lot. I did way better on this project than, I forgot to mention, which you'll find out if you go watch the other videos, but one of our posts settled on this lean-to. Once we got up there and started putting tin on it, one of our posts settled, and that made my gut literally sink. I was like, oh my God. Customer loved it. I mean, I guess maybe he couldn't see it or whatever, but like I could see it. Bothered me, but I'll say I learned that next time I do something like this, I'm gonna pack the bottom of my holes, and I'm also going to weld on rebar, at least on 2 sides of our post at the bottom. That way the concrete holds it, you know, from sinking as bad, and it also helps with updraft. You know, it's not gonna pull out of the concrete, it's not gonna slip right out of the concrete. So there's things you can do to make better quality holes and stuff. The ground was real soft here. I mean, like it was fine whenever we now the purlin, I wasn't so crazy about the purlin kind of twisting. I would rather put like a piece of something else up front than just a piece of purlin, because it was kind of twisting. I noticed that the first day, but after we started putting tin on it, literally one of the posts sank. I haven't done anything about it yet as of the recording of this video, but if we go do another lean-to like we're supposed to for this customer, I would like to use his skid steer, and my plan to simplify it is to cut the post right here, cut the lean-to post. I want to cut it right here and then lift it up with a skid steer and then put a piece of square tubing in right here. That way we don't got to do any digging. The good thing about it being a little bit is that the post will, you know, everything will settle a little bit, because it will, especially in the soft ground. Everything will settle, and then we will go in whenever everything's more settled and put the proper amount in. That way we don't put it in and then it sinks again type thing. So that's one thing that really stressed me out on that project, was the fact that the ground was soft and that one post sank. It just told me that I got in a hurry with that aspect of it, and I don't like that. I don't like rushing a project because I'm worried about finances. Like, I'm into doing quality work, but I had so much more on my mind that I was rushing things, and I just don't love that. You know, that really, I could really feel it. I could really feel the anxiety and the stress, and that's not who I want to be. So anyway, I hope you learned something. I know I did too. If you are interested in a tools list for being a mobile rig welder, or even a 5 hustler mindset list that I recommend when it comes to trying to stay motivated when getting started as a mobile rig welder, go to our website, AROSSWELDING.com, and under the resources tab, there will be several lists there. You should see both of those lists as well as a couple of others. Click on the link. All you got to do is leave us your email, and we will send you whatever list that you sign up for. I hope you have an awesome day, awesome weekend, whenever you may be watching this. My advice for this week is don't minimize things. Minimizing things has got me nowhere. It's got me in a deep hole. It's got me overextending myself, taking on too much. And that just causes stress, especially once it starts to pile up, you know, or whenever, you know, you're digging a hole, you know, dig a hole, you're down at the bottom of the hole, stuff starts piling up on top of you. It's very suffocating. It's not good for stress. So if not, you take on a project that you're really not ready for, and although there's a lot of good that comes from it, and I may be sounding confident right now, in the moment, very stressful, don't recommend. I'm trying to live a better quality of life, and I want you to live a better quality of life too. So slow and steady wins the race. Don't overextend yourself. Be honest with yourself, and be honest with your situation and others. Don't take on something if you don't feel confident in taking it on, and don't take on too much. Get plenty of rest, take care of yourself, have an awesome weekend, have an awesome day, and remember, learn something every day.